Sheesh, what's good, everybody? I have been meaning to make this announcement, but I really want to say thank you for us reaching 200 subscribers on YouTube. That's dope. Um, in this video, though, I want to talk about how to make a fetish. Um, because how to make a fetish talks about the purpose of my work and why I do the things that I do. Um, like when I was constructing this conversation, I was thinking about for example, this whole trend of people eating ass, right? Like, I feel like eating ass is one of the most disgusting things that you could ever do. Like, I have never, ever eaten ass in my life, and I don't plan on ever eating. Like, I don't even understand why that's a thought for people. And truthfully, the person who I blame for this trend is Janae Aiko with her, but you gotta eat the booty like groceries. And yo, listen, I love Janae Aiko. That's my Pisces sister or whatever. But, that song, it really just the things that we put into the public. Because, I know that before all of this, right? Before all of this talk about, before the increase in popularity, right? Like the propagation of the conversation surrounding ass eating, uh, people had a lot more respect for themselves, right? Or at least we wouldn't so openly and outwardly say that we eat ass. Like the fact that people come out publicly and openly and we openly talk about eating ass is just like, it's just ridiculous, right? And because these would be the same people, that claim that they want to protect children, right? Or that they want to, protect, just, the species, right? And just like a certain type of sanity or whatever, and that they're clean, all these types of things. And, these things are not clean, it's not clean to be eating ass. And, so when you think about this process, right? And like the things that people must go through, because you'll go, because I'm sure that there are like many people who were, you know, okay, yeah, maybe they would have agreed before that, like, yeah, like, ew, eating ass is nasty. But the simple prompting of it, especially in such a way of condoning it and saying that, yes, oh, you gotta eat the booty like groceries and like all that type of stuff. Or, and like I said, just putting it all out there like that, it was like, maybe I do need to get my ass eaten. And then it's like all of these people, now, like I have homies who have eaten ass. You feel me? Like I know people who eat ass or who have eaten ass. And listen, like y'all have your own thing going on, and and the thing that's like the saddest to me is that, like, I can't even be confident in whether or not that was a genuine, excuse me, act, like meaning your initiation into eating ass as like a sexual instrument, uh is would be a genuine act if it were not for, again, like the trendiness of it, the making of it into a popular thing, or a socially acceptable thing to do. And so this caused me to, again, like I said, just look back around to the conversation in general around, okay, well, things that we are not supposed to do, right? Taboos, right? We call these things taboos, because over the years, at least in these 20 plus years that I have traversed this world, I am aware of the time where we still held on to some certain taboos, some certain classical taboos, particularly a social taboo that says that there are three main things that we should not talk about: sex, religion, and politics. And yet here we are in this time talking so blatantly about all these things, so openly, so publicly, where like your identity revolves around your opinions about these things, right? Um, you got the LGBTQ movement, who are, yeah, they're definitely doing their ass eating, right? They're doing all of this, entertaining, talking about sex and stuff like this, as if anybody really cares about who you have sex with, how you like to have sex, what you think about sex, like especially on like a public, on a grand stage, like nobody cares. Like nobody cares, especially like if it's not even organized or whatever. Like it's not like a entertainment thing or whatever. Nobody cares. The point is that really nobody cares. In the realm of religion, we got people out here. I mean, come on. I've seen just how simply on Threads or on X, where I'll mention God, the simple act of mentioning God. The algorithm will pick it up, and then most of the replies from a post about God are going to be from people who don't believe in God, and their objective is to talk about how they don't believe in God and fuck religion and fuck God and fuck Christianity and Jesus isn't real and oh you're stupid for believing this and yada yada yada, or for thinking this. And you don't even have to put like an opinion out there, but people are very very open and free with their negation of God, or even their support of God. I mean, out here in California, there are so many of these small religious organizations that try to recruit people and indoctrinate people, enlist people into, their cults. And a lot of them, they're talking about like God the Mother, or they're talking about the second coming of Christ and things of this nature. So, um, yeah. So there's that, and then you have politics, and with politics, I mean, come on, we already know how big the politics conversation has gotten. As a matter of fact, that's become one of the underbeds, of all of these different things, right? Where all of the where like being homosexual, being a deviant, denying God and all of this type of stuff. Like these different things have actually become finally identifiable as what a political, uh, category, a political affiliation, something political. Since 2014, there's been so much of this conversation that's been anti Trump, anti-Republican, anti-conservative, pro blue or pro Democrat, or whatever the case may be. And again, it's all just like political stuff. And of course, what that has done is that has sprouted many people to go ahead and defend Donald Trump, or defend republicanism, or defend conservatism and stuff like that, right? And at the end of the day, right, like I said, man, there are reasons for why we have been told not to talk about these things. And at the end of the day, the way that I see it is that it is the fault of those who created the taboos in the first place, or who told us about the taboos, for not telling us why those taboos are in place. Why should I not talk about sex? Why should I not go ahead and fucking, eat ass, or get my ass eaten? Why should I not, uh, you know, worry about people's religions? Why should I not care about people's, political affiliations and stuff like that? And the reason why this has been, sorry. And the thing about it is that, in them not explaining the reasons for why these taboos have persisted for as long as they have, because they have persisted for very, very long. There's a reason why these things have come to be at such a general level, socially prohibited, is the simple fact that, like there was no possible way that we could have managed to estimate the extent to which we are in the predicament that we are in today, of just the division. Like there is just so much division that is among us, and it's just so clear, that within all of it, there is still absolutely that sense that, yeah, man, like something's not right. Like we should be unified. Like we want to unify. um and not to go too deep into, like, what each side believes, or what, what, like each side of whatever the different ideologies or whatever will believe is the key to unity. What's more important is, this discussion again about making a fetish, because you know the taboo is really where, excuse me, the fetish is created. That's really the start, because when you lack reasons for preventing or prohibiting things, right? When you lack sufficient reason for prohibiting things, then the impetus for people to go ahead and figure out the reasons why, to actually figure out the reasons why, is becomes much stronger, right? Because the question is why, right? The question is, well, why do you not want me to play with black children? Or black people? Why do you not want me to, um, marry outside of my race, or whatever, or procreate outside of my race, and all this? Why do you want these things? And if you don't have good enough reasons, then you're not. It's gonna be like the inclination within the person, right? Because, like, especially, right, because, like, for these things, for the nuances of these things, you can't even really mention them, right? Like there's no real reason to even mention them unless you're put into a context that causes you to talk about it, right? So, your son or daughter comes home, and it's an interracial situation, right? And you look at it like an interracial situation. Maybe they didn't look at it as an interracial situation, right? Like, they looked at it as, I like this person, I like this person, let's get together, we doing our thing. But now here you are, with your, interracial, and biracial, and blah blah blah, all of this, and it's like, that has tainted so much of our culture. Like, we are in 2025, we are in the 21st century, where we have surpassed, we've gone beyond the civil rights movement, even as far as mocking it with Lyndon B. Johnson. Even the fact that he mocked it, you know what I mean, was enough to show, the potential and the capability of us to integrate, right? And really, integrate is really a terrible word, but cohabitate, coexist. I mean, let's consider, at a baseline, right? Like, we can, even though people do participate in bestiality, women don't have the capacity to bear the children of the animals. Same thing with men, right? Uh, 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 the animals do not have the capacity to bear the children of men. So, but yet, regardless of all these divisions that we make, in terms of black and brown and white and yada yada, Asian, all of this type of stuff, we can still go ahead and interact with one another, and we can reproduce with one another, and do the things that we do. And these things were bound to happen, regardless. And so, like I said, the question is, what is your reasoning, right? Like, what is your reasoning for making these separations, for creating these prohibitions? Because, like I said, what you're doing is, you're actually inspiring people to defy you. And then when these people go ahead and they defy you, and they figure out whatever the consequences are for the things that they have done. And again, consequences are not just negative. Consequences are on a spectrum, and there are indifferent consequences. Right. The point of the articulation of consequences is just saying, okay, well, what things are based off of the fact that things have been done, or like what something is based on the fact that the thing has been manifested. Um, and so, you know, when we have this situation where, like I said, it's this making of the fetish, and you have the taboo, the thing that tells them what they can't do. So now, this person now has the voice of the person who told them what they can't do in their head, when they're going and doing this action, doing this thing. And it's disingenuous, right? Like, their interaction with the world in the way that they're being told not to interact is a disingenuous mode of interacting, right? Because again, it does partially come from the air of defiance, and especially too the hope that they will continue to live after they do what they do, right? Or the expectation that they will continue to live after they do what they do, so that then they can stand in the face of the person who told them what they cannot do and be like, oh yeah, boom, look at me, I survived past the thing that you did, and here I am, I'm still doing it, I'm being defiant. Like, like even keeping with this, with the example of the people who were in an interracial relationship or whatever, even their genuine connection can be completely tainted because of the fact that you have gone out here and you have said these ridiculous things, or you have said these things, and you don't really have reason, but you're judging, right? Like you're trying to say that, oh yeah, well, you're being judged on these things. Here's another great example, right? Like a great example. I mean, of course, I've been told my whole life, whether through the things that have happened through history, or just the simple fact of being in a black family, being a black person in a black family, and talking about police, right? And how police profile, how police look at us sideways, look at black people sideways and stuff like that. Those things didn't influence my perception of police in terms of how I interacted with them. I mean, again, beyond the fact that, okay, well, having to keep that in the back of my mind and me knowing and me understanding. But definitely as I got older and I started to realize and I started to see my summation or my understanding of why I was being, why I was in certain situations, was partially augmented by, or influenced, excuse me, by the things that I was, told, by the things that that I was taught. And again, right, like I have my own discipline, right, or I have my own representation of myself, but at the end of the day, although it may be genuine or authentic to be able to see the evidence of a thing and say that, okay, well, it is right, and to be warned, there must be, like I said, generally, right, sufficient reasons why we say and do the things that we say and do. Like I said, when it comes down to prohibiting people, excuse me, because they will stand in that person's face and they will say, hey, look at me, I survived, I had a positive interaction with a cop, look at me, I'm still with the girl, I'm still with the guy, look at me, I'm still. And now you're doing it for them, you know what I'm saying? You're not even doing it for you, you're not doing it for your own reasoning and your own purpose. And that has its own consequence. That has its own consequence, like I said, because because the interaction itself, the situation itself has become so tainted by the fact that, okay, I'm being judged on this, right? And you're being judged on a cultural, sociocultural level, you know what I'm saying? um and it's dangerous, man. I mean, it's dangerous. I mean, just look at us, right? Like I said, there's no way that we could have prepared ourselves for, or not, no, sorry, not that there's no way, there is a way. But the way that we have been unprepared to deal with, sheesh, I mean, accountability, our own actions, the consequences of our own actions, the man, what our culture has become, what our society has become because of being defiant. Um, it's tragic, man. Like it's really, really tragic. And you know, uh, it is these tragedies that are the inspiration for why we create taboos in the first place, right? And so we shouldn't, forget why we do what we do, right? We should be prepared to explain ourselves and why we do what we do, and also to be prepared to receive pushback, and defend ourselves for those reputations that come by for saying, yeah, well, I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's right to say, right? I don't think that's good to to think like that, like to say that, like to try to affect the dynamics of my relationships, or my interactions with the world with your BS. You know what I'm saying? Nah, I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna defy that. I'm gonna take matters into my own hands. And yeah, bro, um, it's just not good. Like it's just not good. So anyway, what I stress more than anything is that we develop sound reasons and stop behaving in this way in our society. That, oh, uh, this is like this because I said so, right? Or I told you not to do this because I said so. Now, yes, absolutely, it is important to establish your authority in a necessary contexts, such as with a child, such as with an idiot, such as with a subordinate, or whatever the case may, a subordinate. Um, but combined with that, you should also have sound, sufficient reasons for why you're doing the things that you do. Otherwise, what you're saying is going to be considered irrelevant, and a person it will be more inclined to go ahead and challenge, that thing for themselves, right? Like if anything, man, it's like to a degree you want to be as much in their head as possible in terms of making them conscientious of their actions, right, and what they're doing. Uh, and the reason for that is, yeah, I mean, first of all, it works much better as a deterrent, right? Or it works more as a deterrent, and they can definitely use their reasoning capacity much better to understand why you are preventing them from, or why you are advising them, excuse me, to not indulge in the way that you are advising them not to indulge. Though at the same time, like I said, right, like we know that these things can be abused. But again, my thing at the end of the day is just like I would much rather us abuse the reasons, right? I would much rather us try to abuse the reasons for why we say not to do things so that it can be calculated whether you're bullshitting, right? Right? Or like whether like your reasoning is sound, right? And whether a person is actually reaching understanding versus saying, oh, because I said so, in a clearly progressively more informed population, right, that has the ability to do its own research and formulate its own understandings and participate in the process, and like I said, feel more compelled to go ahead and defy, just based off the simple fact that they don't feel like the reasons that you supplied were good enough. um, and then people don't have to pay some certain costs, right? Because each decision has spiritual costs, right? Like the things that we do have different sorts of material and spiritual costs. And yeah, life can feel pretty boring sometimes. Life can feel pretty mundane sometimes, right? We feel like there got to be a little bit of excitement, and there is that underlying question of whether or not something needs to be happening all the time. Like that's one of the worst things that has happened in our society. This idea that like something needs to be happening all the time. If there's no excitement, then you know what I mean? Like even with our media and stuff like that, we go ahead, we go for the violence, we go for the rape, we go for the pedophilia, we go for the homosexuality, we go for the racism. Like we go for all that, the low hanging fruit, because we feel like that's what people want to hear, that's what people want to see, that's what people are going to read. But at the end of the day, we're also orchestrating the society that we live in. We are engineering the society that we live in based off the things that we are talking about. You know what I'm saying? So we got to be mindful of each other. You know what I'm saying? And that's a huge part of the work that I am doing. I'm not like, it's not even about like my dad had this great saying he would always say to me growing up, which is, I'm not trying to tell you what to think. I'm trying to show you how to think. You know what I mean? And my thing is, like, my question to you at the end of the day is, what do you want out of your world and your society? I do agree that, at the end of the day, people are going to be people and people are going to do what they're going to do. But that does not mean that we cannot prepare people, as best as possible to deal with the world. Isn't that part of the job of parents? Isn't that part of the job of being a mentor or a teacher, or even the various people who have brought us to these points where, yeah, we're not in monarchical sorts of governmental structures anymore, being under one ruler, or authoritarian sorts of rulers, or all these types of things. It's a certain respect that we have for our reasoning capacities to want to institute democratic republic types of governments, you know what I'm saying, or types of social structures and stuff like that, providing credence, providing relevance for the multitude of opinions and perspectives that are out there, and experiences that are out there for any of us to learn from. Because we do unify, we are all unified at least on one central thing, right? We are at least all unified on one thing, and that is that we are alive, and that while we are alive, we want to preserve this life. Um, and for people who don't want to preserve the life, if they really didn't want to preserve the life, then they would just end it. And so if they don't end it, then that means that they're holding on to it. Now, they're making decisions and they're going to continue to make decisions. That's fine. But that doesn't mean that these people, gain some sort of a legitimacy or greater legitimacy, a grander stage in the realm of the people who are living and do want to preserve life and are doing the best that they can to preserve life, you know? Um, so, yeah, you know, through this conversation, I hope we have a better understanding of how to make a fetish. Because, yeah, I mean, we are definitely in a a hugely sexual time, like a hugely like this. It's fetishized to be a deviant. It's fetishized to be defiant. It's fetishized to be on this or that political side. It's fetishized to defy God, to deny God, to disrespect people's beliefs, to disregard people's beliefs on the things that they see, to disregard people's perspectives, and things like that, to try to convert people and all of that type of stuff, and to make them believe nonsense, to join little cults and all of this type of stuff. Everything has become so fetishized, right? And this has been done because of the fact that we have had certain taboos and prohibitions that were not securely fastened. You know what I mean? Um, in some respects, right, you would call this. Some people would be like resistant to this because they would think that, oh, well, that's dogmatism, right? And that's like the same thing as what the church is. But it's also dogmatic that you don't want to die, right? It's dogmatic that you want to preserve your life. If you don't want to be dogmatic, and all of that, and to the absolute extent, right? You don't want anything. That you want to just constantly question everything, then just die. Like, I don't understand why that's so hard. Like, I don't understand why, like, you know, in the realm of what there is to give credence to, there is no credence to give to people who don't want to live or who question their desire to preserve their life with any like real seriousness. You know what I'm saying? Like, just keel over and die. You feel me? Like, that's not what we're here. That's not what we're doing. Like, that's not what I'm doing. I'm not trying to die. I'm not trying to lose my life. I'm not trying to, you know, relinquish all that has been given to me by simply being blessed with the instrument of the body. You know what I'm saying? Shit, I love that. I love that enough. I mean, that's pretty erotic in itself. Is that not enough of a something to be to fetishize over per se? Not that it should be so called fetishized, but anyway. Hey, I wonder how you guys feel about this conversation, and the making of a fetish, and how fetishes really stem from taboos. Um, I don't care if you eat ass, but I'm more than sure you guys are gonna tell me about your fucking ass eating escapades. Jesus Christ. But anyway, hey, thank y'all again for 200 subscribers. We got more coming up for you guys, of course. We're in college right now. We're doing our thing. Chicken nuggets. Those with ears, let them hear. Honey mustard.